Hello, my friends. God bless you. Welcome back to Traveler of the Wood. I have so many things bouncing around in my head that I want to talk about today, and I've realized that I really need to focus on making some long-form presentations because I'm to a point now where I'm wanting to use words that I have my own definitions for. And I at least need to get a video out explaining some definitions that I have for certain things because I want to be precisely understood when I say words like magic, for instance, because we all have our own definitions of these words and we also have the textbook definition of these words, but sometimes I don't think the definition is right, and I've really been focusing on creating accurate linguistic models for some of these concepts. But there's a lot I want to talk about today because I've noticed, and I don't know if you've noticed, just in the last couple months, the internet really goes through phases for me, at least in my use of it. Sometimes the internet feels very useful to me, and I feel like I'm learning something when I participate in conversations on the internet, and other times I feel like the internet is just collapsing in on itself and getting worse. And I think AI is obviously contributing to the disintegration of usefulness of the internet. And I don't think that's going away. It's just getting progressively worse. So we are entering into a time where things are going to be changing rapidly. And I think amidst all this, we're kind of in a blackpill valley, if I can use that terminology. But the thing is, whenever we're in a blackpill valley, it becomes very difficult for people to recognize the white pills that are present also. So I guess what I want to do with this video is help reframe everyone's black pill thinking into some white pill thinking, if that's possible. So recently I saw a video featuring a woman sitting in a vehicle. This woman was having a meltdown. Why was she having a meltdown? She's just made 2 payments on her student loans. And she's come to realize that her student loans have a 17% interest rate, which itself is totally insane. But what that means is that whenever she makes a payment, the amount that she owes goes up higher than it was. So she is now a debt slave, and she's realized that she's a debt slave, and she's freaking out about it, understandably so. And of course, I watched this video and I felt so terrible for this woman because I know that this is a thing, and I know that people are going through this. She's not the only one, for sure. But I also happened to catch some boomer commentary on the video. Pretty much every boomer commentary on this video is essentially someone saying, well, she knew what she signed up for. Not only is that retarded and unempathetic, but it's missing the point that this woman probably had parents that were boomers that said, well, you got to go to college. You have to go to college. That's the only thing you've got to do with your life. And at this point in modernity, that is the absolute worst advice you could give anyone. So here's the deal. This woman signed, I'm about to jump around and be very ADD with this video, so I apologize in advance for this. This woman signed her name in a death box. If you don't know what the death box is, on pretty much every legal form, as in forms relating to either money or government things, you sign your name in a box. This box is symbolic of your coffin, and you are putting your name on your coffin, notarizing your death, essentially. And when we sign our name on forms like this, we use cursive. Cursive. Cursive is a font that is specifically used for cursing, for spell casting. And I know this is going to get a little out there, but please bear with me. Cursive was designed specifically to counter the Latin alphabet and Latin language in general, but Latin alphabet. In demonology, Latin is used because Latin commands authority. It has authority not only over people, but it has authority over demons and over evil. This has nothing to do with the Roman Empire or anything like that, but magisters of old, when they were formulating language, understood this about Latin and Latin script, and it was real easy to see that that is how Latin script worked. So cursive as a script is a cursing language. It's destructive. It's not productive, if that makes sense. If I had any advice about that, I would suggest stop writing in cursive. When I sign my name, I sign my name in print. It's very sloppy print, but it's still print. Because when you print each letter, the letters have intent. It's not all smeared together to be amorphous and esoteric. That was a little bit of a sidetrack. So this woman signed her name in the death box with cursive. And in the video, she explains that she did this when she was 17 years old. I don't know if you have teenagers in your life, but I do. And I will tell you straight up that teenagers are the least financially literate people in our entire realm. It's so troubling and scary that teenagers are forced to make these type of massive financial decisions. And I don't want to sound like I'm anti-college either. Furthering your studies and things is great. Not for $100,000. It's not. So, and we all know kind of who's behind the system of banks, finances, usury, all of this stuff. I don't have to go into that. But this woman signed into debt slavery, signed her name into debt slavery. She sealed her coffin in debt slavery. This, on the surface, appears like a black pill, and a lot of people are seeing this and going, oh no, we're so screwed. Which, yeah, to an extent. But there's a white pill here. And the white pill is that younger people, Gen Z, younger millennials, are starting to realize that this system actively works against them. Coincidentally, that is the first step toward people rejecting the system. But this is the interesting thing about where we are in modernity as a whole. You can't partially reject this system. It has to be a full denial and rejection, or you're in it. There's no in between, there's no gray area. Because if you're just in the system a little bit, or, oh, I want to be out of the system, but I still really like, having access to the internet and stuff. Maybe I'll go live off grid and have Starlink or whatever. If you have the internet, you're still part of the system, and you're still consenting to slavery. I recognize the irony of me talking about all of this stuff on the internet. I'm not saying that I'm out of the system. I'm very much a part of the system. But this realization that everyone's having is the first step in escaping. Because people will get uncomfortable enough at some point that they will abandon the system altogether. And that's the only way you can escape debt slavery, too, is a thorough rejection of the system. See, but this is what's weird about America and student loans, is that if you go bankrupt or declare bankruptcy, you still owe the student loans. You can get medical debt forgiven, you can get all sorts of debt forgiven, but not your student loans. And to make that the case for something as important as education is a sign that this is all, very inverted demonic energy going on. So the biggest white pill of all of this is that people are ultimately realizing that from out of the ashes of this struggle, the turmoil, the strife, the pain, and the agony, we become the best versions of ourselves. And even if some people haven't quite realized that yet, that's going to be the logical conclusion that they're going to come to. And to me, this is the biggest white pill of them all. Because once we realize this, we'll start to look at suffering differently. We'll start to look at suffering as a blessing. And we'll start to realize that the kind of suffering that we actually need to do as people. Not the arbitrary suffering, not all of this suffering that we're consenting to and volunteering for. I'm just talking about the suffering of day-to-day life. The fact that you have to till the ground to get food, things like that. This is where we're going to actually blossom and become the best version of ourselves. So I think that this is ultimately a good thing that people are starting to wake up. But there's a lot of things that people need to wake up to that they're still very much asleep to. For instance, magic and spell casting, what I kind of mentioned earlier. It's a weird place that we're in. And there's a light at the end of the tunnel, is all I'm trying to say here. So I guess that's the main thing I wanted to get out today. So I really appreciate all of you watching this. If you find any of my stuff valuable, I have a Ko-fi account. Feel free to donate. So many more videos coming down the pipeline. So I really appreciate you all. And I hope you have a wonderfully blessed day. God bless you. We'll see you next time.